sure you dialed the right number?" I asked. "I don't know anything about cooking. I don't know anything about Texas. I covered D.C. stories, remember? Washington, D.C., real stuff." Fortunately, Laura ignored my burst of attitude. "You can't do any kind of stories sitting in bed with the covers pulled over your head, Collie. Only a really good friend can put you in your place like that and get away with it. Now get off your butt and check your fax machine. I sent the proposal over 2 days ago, in case you hadn't noticed." "I hadn't," I muttered. "I'm not surprised," she fired back. "It's an 8-story run, and the pay isn't bad. $8,000 plus expenses." A huge sigh trembled through me, and the sound of it made my eyes burn. It was filled with the sense of hopelessness that had become the biggest part of me. It just isn't my kind of story. "Stop it, Collie." The volume made me hold the phone away from my ear. After so many weeks of quiet, her voice seemed like thunder rolling through my brain. "You're going to have to face the fact that you're out of luck in D.C., at least until this lawsuit thing is old news. I know you've got bills to pay. Go to the stupid fax machine, pick up the stupid assignment, and get on the stupid plane. I need the first article by the 15th. Of June?" Swinging my feet around, I stood up like a coma patient finally wobbling out of bed. My joke bombed. "Very funny. The 15th of April. 1 week. Don't miss deadline. Enjoy the warm weather." Click. So there I stood, in a darkened room full of unwashed clothes and empty food containers, staring at the papers in the fax machine, wondering how I had come to this point. It's a long way down from award-winning Washington correspondent to unemployed freelance writer. The bottom of the pit is filled with dirty laundry and dried-up Chinese food. Testify in a lawsuit against your employer, and this is where you end up. I never guessed the way out would be through Texas. I pondered the idea as I sat on the plane reading the outline for the article series. Quirky stuff about summer food festivals and bed and breakfast inns with famous recipes. Touchy-feely stuff. Not my kind of thing. It would have been more suited to any number of feature writers who were actually from Texas, and I'm sure Laura knew that. The fact that she'd given it to me only pointed out what a good friend she was, and what a charity case I had become. "So you never did tell me why you were headed to Texas in the first place." The guy beside me was an engineering consultant from D.C. Earlier on, we'd been commiserating about being sent to Texas on business. "I have a series of articles to do there." I hoped I was sounding cordial but romantically uninterested. 3 months of wallowing in self-pity had left me a little rusty on social niceties. He smiled, looking interested in more than just my work. "In Dallas? Sure would be nice to have someone from D.C. to talk to while I'm stuck there." "In San Saline," I interjected before things could go any farther. I could force myself to go to Texas and write articles about cooking, but romance was out of the question. Not now. Probably never again. "I guess that's a suburb of Dallas?" He laughed so loudly the lady across the aisle stopped her needlepoint to look at us. "Not quite. San Saline's in central Texas, an hour or 2 west of Waco. You're headed to the middle of nowhere." He gave a rueful snort that made my stomach drop. "You've got a lot to learn about Texas." Leaning back in his seat, he crossed his arms over his chest and closed his eyes, still grinning like a Cheshire cat. "There's nothing out there but jackrabbits and goat farms, like the commercial says. It's like a whole other country." "Oh," I muttered, and that was the end of the conversation for the rest of the plane ride. He fell asleep with his glasses askew and his mouth hanging open, and I sat reading my papers, having a waking nightmare about dropping off the edge of the world. I was trying to find San Saline on the map as the plane landed. Beside me, my seatmate woke up and straightened his glasses. "Down here." He pointed over my shoulder to a small dot with a tiny name beside it. "Oh," I said, folding up the map as the plane stopped at the gate. "Thanks." "No problem." Standing up, he pulled his carry-on from the luggage bin. "So, are you in Dallas overnight?" My mind quickly made the decision not to be in Dallas overnight as I grabbed my luggage and followed him from the plane. "No, I'm going to pick up my rental car and get going." "Can I buy you supper before you take off?" "No, really, but thanks." For a moment, we stood pinned together in uncomfortable silence.